Thank you very much. Okay, good morning, everybody. Thank you for gracing us with your presence. It's always fantastic to come into a room in new places and meet new faces who are coming to share different experiences and new insights. We always appreciate that as CIPESA. As Wakabi has pointed out, at CIPESA we do quite a bit of work in the areas of internet freedom, the use of ICT for D, in a whole host of countries in the region. We have focused quite a bit on East Africa. We've looked at issues of access to information, freedom of expression, data protection, intermediary liability, and we're keen to share these thoughts with you, but we're also keen to get information from you, as we will get over the course of the day. So my name is Juliet. I'm with CIPESA, and I will try to multitask here as I get into... Okay, so I'm failing at multitasking, but... So I'm here to just have a quick look at the link between ICT, human rights, and democracy. There's a very strong link, but sometimes we don't always make that connection. And how does it relate back to intermediary liability? So I'd just like to set the foundation for some of the discussions that will be taking place over the course of the day. But looking at it through a very obvious lens of ICT, what is it? Human rights, what are they? And democracy, how do we define it? Okay? So, and I'll be asking some very simple questions, and I hope that we'll get to respond. We're a small group of people, very well versed in everything that we do and what we do, which is why we're here today. So I look forward to getting quite a bit of response from you. So just to go on, when we talk of technologies, we look at them as items both held and unseen. It is the technologies that, I mean, it's the means of communications, the bits and bytes that we don't see, but it's also the tools that we hold. But it's also a whole lot more. It is our capacity and ability to communicate with each other, to communicate beyond our physical spaces to audiences beyond our sometimes very obvious circles. So, but beyond that, it's also the capacity for us to communicate with the powers that we previously did not have a direct line of communication to. So let's look at it in that perspective. So this slide is simply acknowledging that it's widely believed that digital technologies can empower citizens. And this is something that we sometimes don't quite recognize, but it's obvious, which is why sometimes we maybe don't recognize the power that technology has given citizens. We've seen it in very many instances, where the most obvious being the Arab Spring. We've seen it in more recent cases where communication is interrupted to prevent the communication of citizens amongst themselves and beyond. But it's essentially a tool to enable a broad range of human rights to participate in community affairs, including those related to governance. So let's keep in mind the ability of technology to enable civic participation in governance processes and in advocating for improved service delivery or reporting service delivery, or enabling themselves to be tools of service delivery. So in that respect, I'd just like to step back again and see where all of these come from. And I'd like for us to look at the Constitution of Tanzania. Many of our countries have very similarly worded constitutions, making all grand promises about the rights that we have, that we should be enjoying, and that we should demand in the instance that we cannot see them. I don't know how clear this is in the back, but I'll just read some aspects of it. I picked out clause 16 in the Constitution of Tanzania, which points out that every person is entitled to respect and protection of their person. Okay? The respect and protection of their person. This could be online as much as it should be a protection guaranteed offline. In section 18, we point out, it's stated that every person has the freedom of expression and opinion of ideas. Okay? It also states that every person has the right to seek, receive, and disseminate information, regardless of national boundaries. it also states that there is the freedom to communicate and the freedom to, with protection from interference of their communication. So we should be able to communicate without fear of our information being interfered with. We should take note of this as we're discussing intermediary liability, which directly speaks back to these rights. Okay, and then finally, every citizen has the right to be informed at all times of various important events of life and activities of the people, and also of importance to the society. Okay, very, very direct points, very simple to understand, but very valuable to hold on to, and we should keep and appreciate the gold that these words hold. Okay, so what is ICT? It is not a multiple quiz question. There'll be no exams on this. It is a simple question. What is ICT? We came here to understand intermediary liability, data protection, but before we can begin talking about those, we need to understand it at its most basic point. What is ICT? Is that a hand going up? Yes? You can give me what? We can start there. What is that? Okay, what does it stand for? What do those three letters stand for? Okay, so what about information communication technologies? Information and communication technology. The infrastructure of communication. Which is what? What do you mean infrastructure of communication? Somebody else, yes? He wasn't drowning, he wasn't suffering. He was doing quite well, but you can carry on from where he's left off. Okay, I like that description. It's a very machinery that gathers and processes information. Are there people involved somewhere along the line of that machinery? People work like machines these days, but yes, they're part of that description because they're the ones communicating or enabling the movement of that information along that machinery. Okay? So so briefly, in a very simple description, there are very many descriptions of what ICT is, and these will be tailored to suit the different contexts within which one is giving that description. But at its basic core, it's a diverse set of technological tools, devices, and resources used to communicate, disseminate, store, and manage information. Again, we're seeing words that we saw in the Constitution. Sharing information, communicating information, disseminating information. And of course, tools that enable these are listed to the side. They're radio, television, phones, computers, iPads, digital cameras, the internet, wireless networks, satellites up in the skies, and rather beyond the skies. So it's very simple, the whole notion around ICT. These are tools which enable us, the beings, to communicate beyond the physical. Okay? So what? Yes? So what about these ICT tools? All of us on our phones, laptops are held out, tablets are also featuring in the mix. And why are we doing this? We're doing this to connect and communicate in real time. Some of us are tweeting. And on that note, we have been using the hashtag JamiiTalks. It's just a brief divergence from the presentation, but yes, we have been using the hashtag JamiiTalks, J-A-M-I-I Talks, and Internet Freedom Africa. I'll share a bit more about that a bit later. But yes, so if you're tweeting and sharing more about what you're learning or discussing here, please use those hashtags to keep the conversation going, as we've had it over the last 2 days, as we've been having a workshop with various members of the media and civil society. But yes, so ICTs have enabled us to communicate in real time. They've really pushed our capacity to multitask, to listen, to write, and to communicate all at the same time. Okay, and we are communicating with wide audiences as a result. Audiences that we previously would have not had the opportunity to engage with in such manner, in such time. Okay, so it has enabled what has been called for a long time the global village, which you're all now part of. But we need to realize the fact that it's only a percentage of us, or part of a small percentage of us in Africa, who are part of this global village. Many more remain excluded from it, particularly women in developing countries remain outside of what's been called the global village. Okay, but essentially at the core of ICT is it's reduced the central control of information. Okay, can I get I like having a bit of feedback from the audience. So when I talk about the reduced central control of information, what comes to mind when that statement is put up? Let's get something from this table. Yes. No? No? Okay, somebody else. When we talk about the reducing of the central control of information, what exactly are we pointing out to? Yes? That's exactly it. Does anybody else want to add to that? I'll relate back to my own experience. When I grew up in Nairobi, in Kenya, and for me, news was only right if it began with Mtukufu Rais Daniel Toroitich Arap Moi. If that was not there, then technically it was not news, because that was our primary source, the trusted source of information. Okay, so it was central. If it didn't come from there, it could not be trusted. And I'd imagine that was not only Juliet's mindset, it was a shared mindset amongst others. So yes, so ICTs have reduced that. It's added a diversity, plurality, yes, in the sources of information. But at the same time, it has also contributed to the popular phenomena, fake news, right? But it has also allowed us to go out there and define or decide for ourselves whether news is fake or not. So we tend to sometimes not explore that aspect of ICT is enabling us to decide or to seek out information to verify what we have and whether to believe it or not. Okay, so that's just a brief overview on what ICT is all about. I believe that you're well placed to explore the topic a whole lot further, as we'll be doing over the course of the day. So now we go into the issue of human rights. On human rights, what are human rights? Yes? The rights that you have simply because you're human. Okay, so let's list a couple of the rights. There are 30 of them. Let's at least see if we can make 5 or 6 of them in the next 30 seconds. Yes? Right to life, somebody else? Right to expression, somebody else? Right to education? Freedom from slavery? Uh-huh. You wanted to say health, the right to health. Uh-huh. A right to clean and safe environment, yes. Right to life, right to water. Right to good health. What else? Right to information, yes. Right to food. The right to argue. Who wants to argue? You want to argue? Don't worry, we'll have a day of argument if you wish. Right to assembly, yes. Right to religion. Right to freedom of speech. Yes, so we did that slide appeared for about a few seconds. But it's good that we are familiar with these rights. And I'd imagine this is so because of the work that we do on a daily basis and the appreciation of our beings, of ourselves as human beings, that we recognize as rights and their value to us. But are these rights similar to the rights that we have online? And then there was silence. So we're talking human rights. What about online rights? How different are they? What are they? When those were created, they were not, there was no online. When those were created, Africa was still under colonial rule. Online rights, what are they? Should the right to freedom of expression offline be any different to online expression? To also apply online. Exactly. That is it in a nutshell. The rights that we have offline should also be the rights that we have online. So that is to privacy, to access information, to disseminate information. We need to have those. We need to recognize that those should mirror each other. Yes? Mm-hmm. Yes. The right to die. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm. Mm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. To look. Uh-huh. No, it's interesting that you point that out, that as times have changed, so have our understandings of some of these rights. We now have a discussion going on the right to be forgotten, particularly on when it comes to online content. What is the dynamic there? It's a whole discussion as well. Maybe we'll explore it over the course of the day, maybe we won't, but it's something to think about. When it comes to online technologies, what other rights have come up that we should be looking out for, or that may be contradicting what we have come to define or commonly understand as human rights? Okay? Okay, so, yes? Mm. We're demanding, okay, it's the demand for humans to recognize. No, at its heart is equality, that we should recognize that I'm as equal to you as you are to me. It should not be given. It is, they were set up to be, that we all recognize that when I'm talking, you're quiet. That when you want your privacy, I should respect it. Almost like a code of interaction and engagement, a social code of interaction and engagement. But we are living in a time where it appears that we need to ask to be given these rights, that we have to fight for these rights. People have been fighting for these rights for decades now and continue to do so. Okay, so what you're pointing out a very subtle point there, that sometimes it does appear that we need to ask for permission to get some of these rights. But talking of rights, what rights are we familiar with that are abused on a daily basis in our environments? Let's look at the case of Tanzania. What human rights are abused? Or what rights? What rights are abused? The right to life. Why do you say the right to life is abused? People are dying. Due to? In Kibiti. So what happens in Kibiti? They go? People are being killed. So the right to life is by unknown suspects. So the basic right of security is also is not present in that instance. What other cases of human rights abuse do we have? The right to freedom of expression. Why do you say that? Mm. Mm. Mm-hmm. Mm. Mm. So silence has been forced down some of our throats. So is it a case of self-censorship, or you're specifically told do not talk about this? There. Okay. Good. What else? Yes? Hello. Good, thanks. How are you? Asante sana. Freedom of assembly and demonstration, yes? Mm-hmm. 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 Has it ever been easy? Has it ever been easy? Uh-huh. Mm. Okay. Mm. Okay. So the right to assembly, is that both online and offline? Both. Okay. What about others? That table has been quite quiet there. What human rights abuses are you aware of? The right to the right to remain silent. So people are being forced to talk. Tell us a bit more about that. Mm. You're forced to talk. Mm. Okay, now that's an interesting one. But yes, it's a reality for some people who are sometimes not aware of that right, that, maybe I do not want to talk at this particular point in time or about this particular issue, but they are forced to sometimes in very extreme ways. This table, what the right to privacy? Tell us more about that. Mm. Mm. So again, there's the force to release information, and this is being applied. It's both online and offline, where the attack of privacy is taking place. Where I think there have actually been cases of, say, people's mobile phones, devices, laptops being taken, and information taken out of them. People forced to release their passwords and access codes to enable somebody else to access information. But yes, there's also, as we're going to see over the course of the day, the intermediate liability, where entities are being pressured into release the information of the users of their platforms. But yes, I won't go too much into that. We have lots of time to explore that over the course of today. But yes, so just to recap, human rights, these are the rights and freedoms that belong to every person from birth up until death, regardless of nationality, race, ethnic background, religion, language, or any other status. Okay, we've already listed quite a few of the rights that we're entitled to. But yes, there are 30, and as was pointed out, it's an evolving state of affairs, considering the new technologies that have come into play and also have an impact on the rights that we have as human beings. But we note there the right to life, freedom of speech and thought, freedom of expression, of association, the right to worship or religious affiliation, the right to a free and fair trial and due process of the law. Okay? So, all human rights are born free and equal in dignity and in rights. All humans are born free and equal in dignity and in rights. But yes, we continue seeing fundamental rights being abused, especially when, now since we're talking about democracy, we see the abuse of rights when the majority of the people are excluded from decision-making processes, which may give rise to conflict and unrest. So just to be clear on that, when we exclude people from policy-making processes, from the law development processes, the laws that do emerge end up being to the benefit of a fewer group of people than to the majority of the people, which rather contradicts the notion around democracy, around civic participation, around the notion of civic equality in any state. Okay? Which brings us to the next topic. We're going to go through this quickly. So what is democracy? There's no video for this one, so now we're thinking hard. What is democracy? Yeah? What? Sorry? Is it a Latin word? Is it a what? Is it English? Is democracy English? No, that's not the question. I was not hoping for hoping to receive a question. I wanted a description of what democracy is. So what is democracy? Yes? It is the word? It's a word taught to cause chaos. How? So how would you define it? A havoc-causing word. Yes, you, and then back there. Did we all get that? Yes? The right to self-governance. It's good. Okay. You're appreciating the description. Back there? It's them. Thank you. That's a very similar description to what came up in our discussions over the last 2 days. What is democracy? And we went back to the textbook definition that we were taught in Standard 4. For the people, by the people, of the people. For the people, yeah? Do we agree?
Help us to understand more the opposite of democracy. One word which really means the opposite of democracy. I don't know. I'm just, because I don't understand democracy, I want to know the opposite way to democracy.
So one has been offered anti-democracy, but that again is a bit of a problem because the word is within there. So what's the opposite of democracy?
Not off the top of my head, but it will come up.
It will come. Okay, so just to keep I've run over time. Maxence, you'll forgive me, or Jamie, you'll forgive me. I'll end this quick. Yes, so democracy has textbook definitions, but yes, its application, much like ICT, will differ in the various contexts that one works in. When you go to some of these countries where there's been stability for generations, their idea of democracy will be very different to some of ours, where we still, before an election, during an election, and after an election, we'll still be making noise about the validity, about the people whom we end up in power with, and the systems that govern that particular that particular process we've come to define as a democratic process. So in very simple definition, it's a system of governments where citizens exercise power directly to elect representatives amongst themselves, from amongst themselves, to form a governing body such as a parliament. Okay? So there we see some of that: for the citizens, by the citizens, of the citizens. In many countries, there is a framework of representative democracy where polls are held every 5 years to elect leaders into positions, placing executive power in the government and legislation, okay, to represent the interests of the citizens. Okay, so a select group of people are placed in these positions to represent the interests of the majority. That is what is at the heart of democracy, that the interests of the majority are reflected in leadership. Okay? So now we're trying to link ICT, human rights, and democracy. This, again, will come up more explicitly as we discuss over the course of the day, where we've seen ICT as the tools that enable communication, human rights, the various forms of equalities that we're all entitled to, and democracy, the ability for me to be represented, or my interest to be represented at a national level by leaders elected by myself and my peers. But what's the relationship between these all? Okay, so the link there is essentially information. ICT to enable access to information, human rights, including the right to information, democracy, the right for me to receive information, to decide on whom I want to represent my interests. That's in a very small nutshell. But yes, it's important to know that citizens need access to information in order to aid their decision-making processes, particularly when the person you're electing is going to spend the next 5 years representing your interests. Okay? So in order for democracy to thrive, citizens must be aware of their human rights and freedoms. And that is where we often find the problem. People are not aware of their rights and their freedoms, which is why it's very easy to exploit some of our citizens because of the absence of this information. Okay? So how can we ensure that human rights, or citizens are aware of their rights and freedoms? We can do this using the various forms of ICTs that we have available, including basic ones: radio, TV, in order to create an idea, a shared interest on what we define as human rights and how to ensure that they are protected. Okay? However, we are seeing cases where not enough of us have access to ICT. In Tanzania, only 34% are connected to the internet. We have issues of illiteracy. So even if something is not online, it could be in print, but still somebody may not be able to read. Then we have radio as a very popular tool of engagement, but then again, maybe not everybody may have access to electricity or some of these very basic service deliveries that we sometimes assume everybody has access to. So there remains a gap or gaps in the dissemination of information, and thus in the advocacy of human rights. But for those who do have access, we see this last bit, that ICTs have enabled citizens to control the information that they can share, but also to access information a whole lot more faster, as well as to disseminate it. But most importantly is they can now also respond to it. And we have seen quite a bit of the use of various ICT modes, primarily social media, used during electoral periods to push out campaign agendas, various manifestos, to build a following around the interests of one politician or another. This has been very popular in the region in the last couple of years, and it's where we've seen quite a bit of contestation on what the media say. For example, can publish, don't publish this, or if you do, you may get into a bit of a pickle. But yes, so we've seen the use of ICT used both positively and negatively. Okay, so this is just a simple image of ICT use during elections. It has changed from what we had previously of going to line up to tick a box and going away, where we didn't have, our only source of information was Mtukufu Rais Daniel Toroitich Arap Moi, who told us what to do and hence who to vote for. We are seeing the use of mobile phones where campaign manifestos are being sent via SMS, giving people a bit of an awareness of what the campaigners' interests are. We're seeing messages being disseminated by phone. This is at a very micro level of ICT use, but the same is also happening online, where on social media, where there's a bit more of an exchange between people running for positions and citizens. Okay, so we've also seen the use of observers coming in to use these very same tools to monitor what the conversation is online, to monitor what is actually happening at the actual polling stations, for example. And some also monitoring what is happening on the media. Then we've also got the internet, where people beyond the country are also having access to what is going on, the various manifestos, topics, and issues that are coming up during an election period. But yes, so what we're seeing is a very simple overview of the different ways in which